Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another session of our Ed Talk series. I want to give a very warm welcome today to the community of Colegio Ikigai. Dear friends of Colegio Ikigai, families and colleagues, welcome. This afternoon, we're in for a great treat. I am Andrea Ferrari, founder at Wholeschools International, together with my colleague, Gabriela Gonzalez Pacheco, Director of Programs. We have created this innovative space to go live and talk about inspiring themes around education changing at this moment. And yes, education is transforming. And for us at Wholeschools, we believe that well-being, innovation, and equity are the pillars for a sustainable change that is future-proof and that can face the challenges of the short, the medium, and the long-term consequences. So for this reason, we're meeting today with experts in education and educational leaders that can guide our educational communities with their international perspectives. And together we can co-create the new landscape in education. We're super excited today to have a man with a vision, a man that is inspiring this transformational change that we're going to speak to you about today. John Kelly, Director and founder of Colegio Ikigai. Welcome to Ed Talks. Hello, John.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be with you today and speak to you about what really are some really interesting topics and transformation that's happening in our school and all the way around the world at the moment.
Thank you so much, John. We've got some interesting headings here in our title today: Metaverse and blockchain technology and NFTs, and all this around a super exciting concept, which is the way that you envision transforming education through Colegio Ikigai. We would love for you to begin by telling us a little bit about your story and how you got on this quest. What is Colegio Ikigai all about?
Absolutely. So my name is John Kelly, and just as I said hello, can we believe it? They've started working in my school.
Yep, John Kelly's on campus, eh? We had a little tour right before he came on the call.
And that could be a very good metaphor for what's happening around the world at the moment, is that just when you don't expect something to happen, something happens, right? So we're
no?
And of course, I've just had to ask my workers just not to drill for this moment. So no, let me jump into it though. Yeah. So one of the title today is we're talking about blockchain technology, NFTs, and Metaverse, and what could that mean to education and schools? And for many years, I first got involved in cryptocurrency around about 2016, and since then, I've been on my own personal journey to understand the technology that stands behind cryptocurrency. And what I really realized is the applications for that technology are huge. They're really wide in the realm of schools. And once we apply a bit of creativity to some of the technology that's freely available today, we can do wonderful transformational things in schools. One of the drivers of Colegio Ikigai, well, the mission of Colegio Ikigai is to help students discover their passion in life. And obviously one of my passions, or one of my interests, is this whole realm of sort of digital supercharging of experiences in the world. So when I got the chance to start my own school, we opened, we signed our Acta Constitutiva in January. I knew that this was an opportunity that was unmissable. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to put in some of the more innovative elements of this technology into the school and, really experiment with some of these ideas.
Wow. Absolutely. I think Andrea and I, we are we're fans, of people who are passionate about education and even through this difficult time are willing to re-question, how should we address the education of young students and prepare them for the future. So I think I'm very interested, and when we were discussing having this particular topic today, is just how this can benefit students and enrich their experience, educational experience, and prepare them for tomorrow.
So it's a really good question. So I think there's two big paradigms for me in education that I really want to cut through and start to sort of contradict. I think the first big paradigm for me is the first big shift that schools need to go through is to understand that the environment that we create in a school has to in some way be much more like the professional working life. And I think this was a big impetus for us, is that from my experience mostly in traditional schools, is that the environment that we create for children in some ways a false environment. And what we really want to do at Colegio Ikigai is create a learning style and a learning pattern that is actually much more congruent with how companies work and how professional life actually is. And the second big paradigm for me is that I really, really want to cut through is the idea of standardized testing and grading for students, which I think has long gone the way of the dodo. And of course, while there's, summative evaluation techniques are absolutely valid in the international arena, what doesn't work for me is labeling children with grades, letters, numbers. That just doesn't work for me anymore. So what we're going to do is trying to move away from an evaluation system that sort of like puts emphasis on numerical grading and move towards an evaluation process which is actually much more simple to understand, much more transparent. The periods of evaluation are much shorter and hopefully more transparent for our parents and our students. And one of the things we want to do in the school is put in phenomenon-based learning. So we're going to be evaluating our students through project-based work. In that evaluation sequence, parents and students will have a big voice in what they think about the quality of the work. I'm going to really focus on that qualitative feedback rather than quantitative feedback.
That makes a lot of sense. I just caught right there a term you used, and we're very fond of and look to the Finnish system for many, many reasons. But phenomenon-based learning, which you just mentioned, makes a lot of sense in this world where you are aiming at having the kids become truly responsible and part of the process in terms of being there to deliver results and take responsibility or ownership for their learning. Do you want to talk a little bit more about phenomenon-based learning and how that makes sense in terms of preparing kids for the future and to be future leaders?
Yeah, sure. So, when I first came across the term, it really caught my attention. I remember this, back in like 2016, 17, I was like, oh, well, what's phenomenon-based learning? And then I learned a little bit more about it. And every time I took like another step into the methodology or to the ideas around it, I grew more and more curious about why is it such a good educational system? Why does it produce such fantastic results if it has no standardized testing, if it doesn't give homework, if the hours are reduced in the school, there's no subjects, we don't package learning into these little packets of time. I was like, that's really interesting. That was the first thing that grabbed my attention. And so what we want to do at Colegio Ikigai is have an approach, because obviously the characteristics of the Finnish system, we couldn't just simply transplant the whole Finnish system into the school at this moment. But the idea would be slowly is to work with what basically PBL, project-based learning, but actually is extended a little bit in terms of how we enter the topics of phenomenon, social phenomenon, or natural phenomenon. And then when we finish our topics, what we create in the school are learning walks, exhibitions, presentations, dances, songs, assemblies. And of course, assemblies are used in many different schools, but the idea here is that we turn it into a big, important event in school. The children really, become the authors of their own learning. We get rid of the sage on the stage, and we ask parents to evaluate the children along with us in a number of different rubrics. And the 4 different areas that we're really working with, although we have 90 abilities behind these, are the 4 C's: creativity, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. So what we want to really do is create in our students an understanding that focusing on these so-called soft skills are actually some of the main drivers of success in the professional world, and particularly creativity. Particularly creativity is one area that we really want to focus on. And I think the Metaverse, NFT, blockchain narrative that we're building around the school is a great narrative to build, but also it's a real narrative, is that, if you want to be creative in this day and age, all the tools are here and available to you. And of course, we want to see the students flourishing with this approach. The other idea that's really, really important to us is that when we come to the end of a period of evaluation is that we take our students on school trips outside of the classroom environment, and these school trips are related in some way to the projects. And so we're really looking for those significant learning experiences outside of the classroom to embed different knowledge into the students. All of this is to say is that what we want to see is students applying their knowledge in real world settings and problem solving, because ultimately when you find yourself in the real world, you're often confronted with problems in which you need a 360 view of the world. You need to solve any problem that you're faced with in life. You're probably going to need some mathematical reasoning. You're probably going to need linguistic skills. You're probably going to need some science skills. There's a little bit of everything when you come to finding a solution to a problem. So
and you're going to need others, to help you get there, right? Not think in an isolated way. And, as they make us do when we're answering to an exam, we'll sit here and answer these questions. You need to relate and come through, transcend those barriers. And of course, this is done in collaboration. You mentioned that. So I love your core C's.
The Finnish system, and I was lucky, and you probably see the bags under my eyes. I was up at 4 o'clock this morning to a doctor in Finland who was happy to share his time with me and explain to me. And he really loved all of the ideas that we come up with. He actually said you've got a really good knowledge of what phenomenon-based education is. But he put it to me in a very, very simple way. He said, if you imagine a football team, the striker can't just be taught to score goals. What you need to do is you need to teach tactical awareness, strategic awareness, communication ability, the ability to follow instructions. Like the whole goal of a football team is to score a goal, but without the 11 players on the pitch going in the right direction, that's not going to happen. You look at some of the problems that we're faced with in the world at the moment, wicked problems, climate change being probably the number one, but not the only one when we're thinking about what's happening in Eastern Europe at the moment. When you look at those problems, the solution to those problems is collaborative. There's no way around it. You can't sit. You're not going to be able to sit down Boris Johnson and make him take a test of how he's going to pass it, how he's going to stop the war in Ukraine. It's a much more dynamic way of thinking about the world, of which you need like a whole range of skills, including including emotional intelligence, playing a really vital part in how you make decisions.
I agree. And those emotional drivers that have been present in your own quest, right, to where you've reached the point of founding your own school, I think as you began the talk today is finding a sense of purpose. And I'd love for you to mention a little bit more about those mindsets that you're going to be cultivating at Ikigai, which transcend the typical classroom and are grounded in the student as a protagonist. And I want to use the word protagonist because they are the authors, as you said, of their own learning, right? So what about these mindsets?
So one of my most favorite thought leaders in the world is a guy called Peter Diamandis. Peter Diamandis wrote a great book. It's called The Future is Faster Than You Think. He's on Twitter. He's very vocal in the things that he says, and he identifies four future leadership mindsets, which I think are actually absolutely what we should be teaching our children. And those four mindsets are an abundance mindset, so the ability to convey to children that they're living in a fantastic period with lots of opportunity, access to capital, creativity is king. If you can get a good idea and translate it into the real world, then there's a lot of opportunity for you. So abundance mindset is this thinking that the world was made for me, I am unique in the world, and what I can give to the world has value and meaning. So I think that for me is vital. When you're thinking about this, discovering your passion in life, students with an abundant mindset will perform really well in the future and be successful. I think the second one is called a purpose-driven mindset, which means that we want all students to realize why are they on the earth? What are they here for? What is their purpose for being with us on the world? And of course, purpose-driven mindset is very much linked to taking a moonshot. So we're talking much about moonshot thinking. And a moonshot for me is perhaps your one opportunity, like Colegio Ikigai for me is probably my one opportunity to do something meaningful in the world and make an impact that generates, generates more peace, happiness, well-being, prosperity for everyone in society. Moonshots can come in all shapes and sizes. They really relate back to putting man on the moon and what our humanity's moonshot was. Elon Musk's moonshot quite clearly is to put people on Mars, but that doesn't mean that, that anyone can have a moonshot, and anyone who's got the right tools and capabilities can actually make that happen. And of course, the fourth one is exponential thinking. So if you can digitize something, you can scale it much more rapidly and much easily. So those are the four different types of ideas that we're really connecting with. And what we feel is going to make a big impact in the lives of our students and create future leaders that can also generate a real change in the world. That's the goal.
John, I have a question. Everything that you have described is something that as educators we know we need to gear towards. But I think sometimes the challenge is to share this vision with the parents, because the family is, the partner in all this with the school in order to achieve it. So have you, what sort of plan have you laid out to help parents share that vision and just help, with the carrying it out, and not just sometimes maybe even being a little bit scared about it or not cooperating to help you do all of these amazing objectives, which sometimes are difficult to achieve, to change those mindsets, as you said.
Yeah, that's right. I think, when you're thinking about what different types of parents are walking through schools' doors at the moment, I think it's interesting, because the way that a millennial thinks or a Generation Z thinks, maybe you might not have so many Generation Z parents in your school just yet, but definitely millennials think in very different ways to baby boomers, etc., etc. So I think it's really important that you do have a plan for training parents, and you have that door open, and you're willing to have those long conversations with parents where you can really explain what it is that we're doing inside the school. And I'll give you a really good example. So on Saturday, we're going to be bringing students for our first time into the school environment to do our first activity. And of course, it's creating a piece of augmented reality around a piece of artwork. But again, what I really want is the parents to experience that with the children and be co-authors of us in the activity. So a lot of the work we're going to focus on, the social program in the school, the taking of pedagogical trips, we're inviting parents to come with us on that. We're inviting parents to come with us on the journey. And of course, things like Parents University always work well, training programs, in order to explain your ideas. Because as soon as, you've got that platform, like, for example, today, in order to explain an idea to a parent, parents, really can relate very quickly and understand what it is that you want to do in the school environment. I think naturally we've attracted parents into the school at the moment who have got a more technologically minded approach to life, and who have maybe a little bit more open-minded about what type of education they want for their children. But saying that, I talk to any parent on these key main points, and I see that there's a big switch in the market where parents are saying, I want something more personalized, I want smaller class sizes, I want you to attend to the needs of my child after the pandemic. My child can't read, my child can't write, my child isn't socialized, my child has gone backwards in mathematics. And all of that narrative really feeds into this non-traditional approach. So I think it's vital. And the doctor from Finland this morning also explained that to me as well. He said it's really, really important that you're not just training the children in this, you're changing the parents, because some of these are paradigm shifts, and that has to be approached with care and thought when you're working with families.
And John, I would dare say it's also important to think about our teachers and how we go about equipping them with the adequate skills to design and facilitate these augmented reality and virtual reality situations to enhance learning. Can you speak a little bit about the metas and can you speak a little bit about the metaverse, the NFTs, the blockchain technology, and why you think that will have such a huge impact, and what we do about equipping our teachers to be prepared to be able to deliver this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you caught my social media post today, but we did our first staff meeting in the Metaverse today, and I sent a few things out on Facebook and a few things out on LinkedIn. So the teachers really, really warming to the ideas. And obviously, once they take a practical hands-on approach, and I explain some of the advantages there is in doing this, then the teachers that I've got are very open-minded anyway, but have jumped on board really, really quickly. And it doesn't matter if age is not a factor here. You know, we have a whole range of teachers, different ages in the school. What it really matters is that you're open-minded, that teachers are open-minded about the changes, and they understand that they're learning something new. And once you sell them on those 2 points, I found actually the process of training people to think a little bit more along the lines of in how we're going to use digital technology to enhance our school environment. You find that actually they're wildly creative people who've got absolutely a ton of things to introduce and bring into the school. So the process has been really good. Obviously, you know, we need to continue that process because as you know, as Colegio Ikigai sort of scales up, and you know, as more children come to the school, and hopefully as we start our secondary school, then what's going to happen is that, you know, we're going to be introducing you know, some real radical ideas into the school environment. And if the teachers don't back you or are not on board, then, you know, it isn't going to work. So getting that buy-in from teachers first is vital. And they obviously have a massive influence on parents. As soon as the teachers are bought in, then the parents will buy in as well.
Well, John, but I think the moment of crisis can be a great opportunity, right? Because instead of playing against you, it can play in favor, because actually a lot of people are kind of questioning, where should we be going with education? And they're not satisfied with what's been going on. So maybe it's the ideal time to be open to a new approach, a radical approach, as you were saying, in some aspects, no? And I think in that case, well, you might get a very good response in that sense. Did you get a feeling for that as well?
My gut feeling, and this is coming from the parents that are coming into the school that I'm talking to, I've passed through a couple of really difficult years, especially with children going into Kinder 1, Kinder 2, Kinder 3, Grade 1. A couple of our children come into school that have never been to school before. I think in all aspects, sort of reading and writing has gone backwards, especially particularly handwriting seems to have gone has been you know, really neglected in the digital age. So I don't want to discard a lot of those elements, and a lot of what the parents are saying to me is, what we really first and foremost want is our child to re-socialize, to really you know, engage with the learning process again, to be passionate about coming to school, to be happy, to be content. And when I was looking for a school in October, November time last year in the North Zone, I visited a lot of different schools that I knew, and I think all schools have strengths and weaknesses. That's for sure. All schools have strengths and weaknesses, but in a range, all of the schools that I visited had a very, very similar learning offer. And there wasn't anything that really excited me, because during the pandemic, we had this unique window into the lives of our children and into the lives of into the lives of school. And I think that was the point that it got really complicated for teachers and for parents. So I think there is an appetite for different types of learning.
Wow, John, I love this concept of I'm checking on your social media here about a boutique school, and that goes hand in hand with personalizing, customizing the experience, and just it being very close to what the families are looking as for something very unique. I love how you describe it, and I love what I see here for art and how that is such a fundamental part of the different learning experiences that you are instilling in the children at such a tender age.
So absolutely. So art for us is art is an essential element to the school. You know, when we're talking about phenomenon-based learning, obviously each one of the projects is transdisciplinary. So we have to select the subjects that we want to bring into the project. The two obligatory subjects are English and art, and especially art at this moment. What I've noticed is that art has been a way in which children can explore their emotions and their feelings about the pandemic, and also is a fantastic way in which they can express their learning, what they've learned in application. So art is vital to the school, and that's one of the reasons why we're pushing art as our first big event inside the school on Saturday. But beyond that, you know, when you talk about personalization, what better tools can you have than the digital world at this moment? And when we're talking about students being creative, the metaverse is a great gateway into that. You know, the blockchain technology that sits behind the metaverse was designed for schools. It was designed for education. It was designed to allow choice, personalization, It was designed to have decentralization. And as we move from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, what we're going to see, I think, is major changes, tectonic shifts in education, where parents are going to want something that's much more personalized and much more meaningful to them and to their children. One of the concepts that we're working here with the school is that the children can be the authors of their own learning, their own approach. We want them to find their passion in life. And what better time in history is there to find your own passion in life when there's just an explosion of different career paths, different opportunities, different professions, all of them perfectly valid at the moment, and all of them which can lead to long fulfilling contented lives. And that's it. I say to all the parents in the school when they're coming in is that, with the concept of Ikigai, what we're really doing is we're giving you a definition of what happiness is. Yes, we want the children to be happy, but here are the lines, here are the parameters of what happiness is. And happiness is in no way, shape or form linked to how much money you have in life. Actually, what happiness is being part of a community, is knowing your passions, exploring your interests really in the real world, and having a chance to 1 year like playing classical guitar, and next year like playing piano, and next year like swimming, and next year like equestrian. You have to offer a range of different interests for children. And also, children have to be able to understand that they must help other people in pursuit of their Ikigai. And the last quadrant is academics. And even within academics, what we want children to do is to explore their interests within those transdisciplinary fields. So that's a lot of the ideas that are shaping Ikigai at the moment.
Wow, there is so much packed into this session. I'm just, exploding with ideas ourselves. I'm sure our audiences too. I would really love for them to feel welcome to this special event you're hosting Saturday if they're curious and want to find out more and participate in an activity and an experience where augmented reality is part of the arts and about learning and sharing and being part of a community. Well, of course, you're all invited, yes, to Colegio Ikigai and down in Echegaray. We thank you so much for making that available to everybody that's following us today. And just for closing, John, I have two things. Well, one is, to all those listening and looking forward to all of these different topics you've presented today, can you leave them with one piece of advice if they want to head in this direction? What could you do? You're at your school and things have been done conventionally and traditionally. What is one baby step we can take in this direction to explore this new world that you've introduced to us today?
That's an interesting question. I think one of the things I'm really interested in doing very, very soon is putting together a playbook about how schools can actually really take an idea and transform it into reality, and the steps that you've got to take. Because obviously, there's a lot of thinking, a lot of thought that has to go into these activities. And let's see, on Saturday, there's still a lot of things that could go wrong in this activity on Saturday. So I think you're researching and investigating a little bit more about what is blockchain technology. I think is absolutely vital. I think blockchain technology underpins everything you want to do in the metaverse, everything you want to do with NFTs. And then if you have a good, solid knowledge of how a school operates, and you look at, accounting, finance, HR, leadership, management, etc., and then the main block, which is obviously learning, it's quite easy to facilitate connections between these two ideas and put these two ideas in order. What I would say is on Saturday at 10 o'clock, we're going to be live streaming. The event in the Metaverse. So probably a really good place to start is, if anybody's interested on Saturday, is to get a virtual seat in the Metaverse with us. You can see the presentation, you can see the ideas, you'll be able to hear my voice. And I think, if anyone can correct me, I think we will be the first school in Mexico to live stream an event in the Metaverse. Many other industries have already done this, but I presume that we're probably close to being first. And then after that, if you like these ideas, you like these concepts, and of course the creativity that you can bring to this table is endless. It's absolutely endless. Then is to wait for the playbook. which will be out soon. And then please feel free to get in touch with me. I'll be delighted to have conversations with individual school leaders or individual schools and explain, what are my ideas. And I really do have some interesting ideas in terms of digital currency, augmented reality, what we can do today in terms of virtual reality in all of those functional areas. So it isn't just learning that we're looking at. We're looking at marketing, we're looking at publicity, we're looking at accounting, finances, HR, leadership, management. How can you digitize and how can you supercharge all these digital experiences? And I'll just leave you with this. I can see that countdown timer has got to
That's
0.
Great. Yeah.
And I'll just leave you this one.
Okay,
one last.
Go ahead, please.
30, when you're talking about millennials now, 30% of millennials don't just require a digital experience, they are obliging institutions to offer a digital experience. So it's not good enough for a school to say at this moment in time, we offer the real experience and the digital experience. We don't offer this blend, this mesh, because you can imagine that the children who are in the Zeta generational gap, which is 2012, and then my son, who was born in 2012, their preference is to do things in the digital world. It's not just their option, it's their preference to learn in that way. And so any school that takes these first initial steps to go down this route will be ahead of the learning curve, which potentially could be a massive thing for your school. By the time we get to 2030, and some of these effects on the economy are seen in AR, VR, etc. Schools that take this first step now are ahead of that curve.
Oof, John. Well, thank you for sharing all this forward thinking. It really warms our heart that all this is happening right here in Mexico City, right down the street from us, and that we can be a part of it, and that we can follow you in your journey, and certainly offer you every support. And of course, our best wishes are with you for every success. We're sure it will be, and we can't wait. We're so curious to come along on this journey. Thank you so much, John Kelly, Colegio Ikigai. Thank you, Gabby, for being with us this afternoon and provoking so many thoughtful questions and thinking about our families and our communities. And we'll see you very, very soon. A big hug to all of you at Colegio Ikigai from Wholeschools. John.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. We're a startup school. We're right at the beginning of our journey, but we've got big dreams and big aspirational dreams for our children and for everyone in education. These ideas, Web 3.0 is about sharing, it's about collaboration, it's not about closing doors, it's about opening doors and developing ideas together. So I really, really appreciate it. For the team over there at Ed Talks, thank you very much, and Wholeschools. And please connect with me on social media. Feel free to ask me questions. Feel free to get in touch with me, phone me, talk to me. I'd really want to make some great connections out there. And if you want, you can follow me on TikTok. I'm a TikToker. It's by far the best social media platform in the world ever, because it's so creative. If you want to follow me on TikTok, you can find me at Big Tiger Vibes. And a lot of these ideas I'm putting out there.
Thanks so much, John. We're sure to hear a lot about you, the school, and we can't wait. We look forward to hosting you in our forum coming up next month, and I'm sure that you will enlighten many of the school leaders that are watching us today. Thank you again. Un abrazote y felicidades. Woo! Colegio Ikigai! Yay!
Thank you.